Welcome to today's deep dive. So have you ever felt like you are just fundamentally unlucky?
Oh, yeah. Like the universe is just specifically targeting you.
Right. Like no matter how carefully you plan things out, you're always the one who invariably spills coffee all over your white shirt minutes before, like a career-defining presentation.
Yep. Or you finally buy a winning raffle ticket only to realize you accidentally bought it for the wrong day.
Exactly. I mean, it's so frustrating. So today's deep dive is really for anyone who has ever felt targeted by the universe like that. We are looking at this really intimate self-published book titled I Used to Be the Elephant.
And it's by an anonymous author, right? Just known as the elephant.
Right, yeah. And, our mission today isn't to recount her whole biography or, like, spoil the ending of her story. Instead, we're really exploring the profound emotional journey she maps out in the book.
Which is just, honestly, it's fascinating.
It really is. It's about this massive internal shift from carrying the crushing weight of an unlucky identity to discovering a totally liberating, completely different way to interact with reality.
Yeah, and what makes this text so remarkable to me is how the author just completely bypasses all the usual cliches. She dissects this very specific but totally universal psychological trap.
The trap of taking random life events personally, right?
Exactly. I mean, we've all experienced that sinking feeling, watching someone else just casually breeze through life, catching every green light. Meanwhile, you leave early, you get hit by a bird, you go inside to change, and you literally get hit by a second bird on your way back out.
Which is just wild because that bird story is a literal example from the book.
Oh, yeah. It really happened to her.
I mean, what are the odds? But let's actually start with the title itself because I think it perfectly captures the physical toll of this whole mindset. I used to be the elephant. The author talks about carrying this heavy emotional load for so long that she actually stopped registering the weight of it. She just started moving differently.
Yeah, she moved slower, more carefully. Like she was constantly bracing for the ground to just, you know, give way beneath her at any second.
It's such a heavy image.
It is.
Yeah.
She uses this metaphor of a captive elephant that has carried these massive burdens for years. And even when the harness is finally taken off, the elephant literally forgets what it feels like to walk freely. It just retains the posture of the burdened.
Wow. Yeah, it's a haunting visual, honestly. Because what she was carrying wasn't just, the grief of her profound losses. It was an identity she had meticulously constructed for herself.
The unlucky elephant.
Right. And reading through her notes, it really seems like she built this identity through a mechanism that I think most of us engage in without even realizing it.
Oh, definitely. She was keeping score.
Yeah.
In psychological terms, keeping score is basically a really lethal manifestation of confirmation bias.
Hey.
Well, after experiencing a cluster of genuine hardships, her brain just started collecting data. Like every wrong turn, every near miss, every absurd disaster.
The birds.
Exactly, the birds. I mean, it was all logged as literal evidence.
Yeah. She mentions the snake she stepped on in the grass, the broken leg, the car accident. She just collected all of it in this mental file. But I'm curious why the brain actually does this. Like, why would we actively look for evidence that we are doomed?
Because the human brain is essentially a pattern recognition machine, and it is absolutely terrified of chaos.
Oh, that makes sense. It craves order.
Exactly. Accepting that tragedy and, bad luck are completely random is terrifying because it means we have zero control.
Right. If bad things just happen for literally no reason, we're completely vulnerable.
Yes. But if we can find a pattern, even a really negative one like, I am uniquely cursed, it ironically gives us this bizarre sense of order. The brain basically decides on the verdict, I am cursed, and then it dutifully goes out into the world to gather the evidence to prove itself right.
Wow. It's like being a relentless prosecutor in the courtroom of your own life, but, you are cross-examining yourself.
That's a perfect way to put it.
You just stand there holding up a spilled coffee and shouting to the jury like, Exhibit A proves that I am not allowed to have a good day.
Yeah, and that courtroom analogy really captures the tragic flaw of the whole process. Because think about what gets deliberately excluded from the official record in that trial.
Oh, all the good stuff.
Exactly. When you are hyper-focused on prosecuting yourself, you become entirely blind to the everyday kindnesses. The minor strokes of good luck are just dismissed as anomalies.
Right. You don't notice the 99 times you didn't get hit by a bird.
Exactly. You only validate the evidence that fits the curse narrative.
And underneath all of that curated evidence, she describes this quiet, persistent background hum. Just a question that ran on a loop in her head.
Why me?
Yeah, why me?
Why me? Why us? Why now? It becomes this soundtrack you just can't unhear. And the real danger of that specific question is that it implies there's a targeted, intentional reason for the suffering.
Right, it assumes the universe is managing like a personal vendetta against you.
Yes, exactly.
And if you truly believe the universe has a vendetta against you, your first instinct is naturally going to be to try and fix it.
Right.
You want to break the curse.
Which is a totally understandable reaction.
For sure. But this leads into what I found to be maybe the most intense part of the book, which is her frantic spiral. I mean, she goes to fortune tellers.
Yeah.
She actually legally changes her phone number and her license plate because someone convinced her the digits carried bad energy.
Which, changing a phone number obviously doesn't alter the chaotic nature of reality.
I see.
I think she mentions the new phone ended up at the bottom of a toilet 2 weeks later anyway.
Oh, man, yeah.
But her desperation drives her toward the modern self-help equivalent of magic spells, right? She falls deep into the world of manifesting.
Oh, the manifesting phase.
Mm-hmm.
She starts consuming all these videos where people promise that the universe is just a mirror listening to your thoughts.
Right, just think positively.
Yeah, they tell her if she just speaks the right words, if he visualizes wealth and safety, everything will just be magically fixed. But she quickly realizes it's completely hollow. She makes this great point that manifesting is impossible when you are actively drowning.
That is so profoundly true, because she would sit in front of the mirror repeating these affirmations about, money and luck flowing effortlessly toward her, but her internal state didn't match the words at all.
No, not even close.
She wasn't radiating gratitude or abundance. She was radiating pure desperation.
She calls it panic wearing a positive attitude.
Oh, I love that phrase.
It's brilliant.
Mm.
It just captures the sheer exhaustion of faking it. But this actually leads to a part of the book I really struggled with.
The pushback from the gurus.
Yes. When her life didn't magically improve, the manifesting gurus in the videos essentially told her she was blocking her own good luck. They told her that her energy was misaligned.
Ugh, yeah.
Frankly, telling someone who is in a deep, dark spiral that their energy is the problem seems uniquely cruel to me. It just feels like a massive step backward.
It is deeply cruel. It basically co-opts spiritual language to recreate a very ancient, punitive worldview, one where misfortune is viewed as a moral failing.
Right, like you did something to deserve it.
Exactly. It shifts the blame for random universal chaos entirely onto the victim. It tells them not only are bad things happening to you, but it is your fault because you aren't thinking the right thoughts.
Which just feeds the unlucky narrative perfectly. I mean, for someone who is already the prosecutor in their own life, this is the ultimate validation.
Oh, 100%.
It says, see, even my energy is broken. Even my attempts to fix the curse are cursed. It just drives the person further into self-blame and total isolation.
It really turns up the volume on that why me loop to deafening levels. And, to escape that noise, she eventually realizes she needs a radical change of environment.
Right, she decides to just pack up and move to a new town, somewhere that hadn't already made up its mind about her.
A place where she wasn't known as the unlucky elephant.
Yeah. She thinks maybe the old adage is true, change your land, change your luck.
Mm-hmm.
But the geographic move itself isn't the cure. It's what the move allows her to do.
Exactly. The physical distance provided isolation, which created enough quiet for her to finally stop bracing for disaster.
It gave her the space for a breakthrough.
Right. It gave her the space to experience a pivotal psychological shift. As she writes in the book, I was trying to change my luck. I forgot to change my view.
I love that quote so much. And that shift really happens during what she calls the sea epiphany.
Yes, the beach scene.
She spends hours just sitting on a beach in her new town watching the ocean. And she has this profound realization about nature that completely unravels the entire foundation of her curse.
She's just, watching the waves roll in and out. And she realizes that the sea doesn't have bad luck days.
Right.
It just has days. The ocean isn't malicious, but it isn't benevolent either.
Sometimes the water is flat as glass, and sometimes the waves come crashing in hard, one after another, and you just have to wait out the storm.
And this just totally dismantles the structural flaw of that why me question we discussed earlier.
Because why me assumes it's all about you.
Exactly. Asking why me operates on this massive ego-driven assumption that the universe's random events are this cohesive narrative and you are the main character being punished.
Right.
But the universe isn't punishing you. It's just being a universe. Waves come in, waves go out. Not because of you, not despite you, just because that is the mechanical nature of reality.
It's like if we get caught in a sudden torrential downpour, We don't look up at the sky and think the clouds formed specifically to ruin our clothes.
Right. Nobody thinks the rain has a vendetta.
Exactly. We understand it's just weather. A low-pressure system moved in.
Yeah.
Yet, when life happens, when relationship ends or tire blows out or we get a scary medical diagnosis, we suddenly assign intent to the meaningless. We think the universe has it out for us.
And once she finally recognizes this, she goes back and re-examines her courtroom evidence.
Oh, this part is so good.
When she strips away the cursed narrative from those events, she finally sees them for what they actually are.
Right, like the snake in the grass wasn't a demonic omen sent to ruin her.
No, she stepped on it because she was walking through tall brush while looking down at her phone.
She just doesn't pay attention.
Exactly. It wasn't a curse. It was just the natural, predictable consequence of how she was moving through the physical world.
And the dermoid cyst she had surgically removed, that wasn't her body turning against her as part of some grand cosmic punishment either.
Bodies just do what bodies do.
Right.
They are organic machines. They grow things. They break down. They recover. They age. It is just a body being a body. The terrible moments aren't a targeted attack. They are just the reality of existing.
Realizing that the universe is indifferent rather than malicious is surprisingly just strangely liberating. But I do think this brings up a massive practical hurdle.
Oh, for sure. The application.
Yeah. Having a beautiful poetic epiphany while watching the waves is one thing, but maintaining that Zen mindset when you actually get hit by a car or when you are locked out of your house in the freezing rain is completely different.
Completely different.
So how did she stop her brain from immediately reverting to its old panicked filters the moment real life hit her in the face again?
Well, the transition from intellectual understanding to daily practice is usually the hardest part of any psychological shift. And she addresses this with the story of the pavement epiphany.
Ah, yes.
Which perfectly illustrates how she actively began rewiring her brain's reticular activating system. You know, the filter that basically decides what information gets noticed and what gets ignored.
So she had been walking the exact same stretch of sidewalk in her new town every single day for months.
Yep.
And then one morning, she randomly stops because she notices these vibrant, beautiful flowers growing right along the concrete edge. And she realizes they aren't new blooms.
No, the stems are thick. They're totally established.
They had been there the entire time, and she had never once perceived them.
Because her brain had been faithfully operating on the unlucky filter she installed years prior, her brain was doing exactly what she trained it to do. It was scanning the environment exclusively for threats.
Right, looking for danger.
It was looking for red lights, for danger, for, well, dog waste on the pavement.
Her brain would spot the dog waste and say, see, unlucky, life is gross, that's just who you are.
Exactly. But when she consciously forced the filter to change, when she actively instructed her brain to look for evidence that she was okay, her whole perception shifted.
Because the dog waste is always there.
It's a public street. Of course it is.
Right.
But so are the flowers. It is entirely a matter of where you choose to assign your limited attention.
Knowing that the brain's filter can be adjusted is great. But she still has bad days, right? I mean, she doesn't claim to achieve some state of permanent, untouchable bliss.
No, the waves still crash.
Exactly. So to manage those hard days, she develops this framework called the color scale. And it's basically a tool for mapping exactly where her nervous system is at any given moment.
The color scale is just a brilliant, highly functional exercise in self-awareness and emotional regulation. So at the very bottom, you have red.
The danger zone.
Yeah. Red isn't just a bad mood. It is a physiological state of overdrive. It is when everything feels like too much.
Yeah.
Your sympathetic nervous system is hijacked, your thoughts are racing, and they are aggressively unkind.
And her primary rule for red day is critical red.
Yeah.
She says, stop.
Yes, do nothing.
Do not make decisions. Do not send that email. Do not try to solve your life's problems. Just breathe and wait.
Exactly. And then above red, you move into orange and yellow. She describes these as reactive and cautious.
It's kind of like a transition phase.
Yeah, orange and yellow are basically the hangover of the red state. You're still wobbly, you're easily startled, and you might, snap at someone. But the dust is beginning to settle. The immediate panic has subsided into caution.
And then there is green. Green is the goal.
Right.
It isn't euphoria. It's just calm, clear, and functional. You can do your work. You can communicate effectively. You make rational decisions. It's the baseline where she says she mostly lives now.
And finally, blue. Blue is that expansive state. It's peaceful, rare, and highly creative. It's the feeling of a quiet Sunday morning with a good cup of coffee and nowhere urgent to be.
That sounds amazing.
It's the deep flow state she actually had to access to write this book.
But the true genius of the color scale isn't about figuring out how to force yourself into blue.
No, not at all.
It's about how she completely changes her behavior on the red days.
Hmm.
She shares the story of a recent morning where absolutely everything went wrong.
Oh, the windshield incident.
Yes. She woke up late, locked her keys in the house, realized her house keys were on the same ring as her car keys, had to literally climb through a window to get them.
What?
And then, on the drive to work, a truck clipped another vehicle and sent broken glass flying onto her windshield.
Which, by anyone's standards, is a completely cursed morning.
Totally.
The old version of the elephant would have turned the car around, crawled into bed, and filed the entire morning under Exhibit Z. The curse continues.
Yeah.
But her breakthrough here is monumental. The breakthrough is allowing herself to feel the intense frustration without building a narrative around it.
The feeling itself was never really the problem, right? It was always the story she attached to that feeling. That's what was actually crushing her. She allows herself to say, I am incredibly frustrated. I am completely in the red right now.
She names the state.
Yes. She names the state, and she lets the anger exist without feeding it a storyline.
If a car hits your windshield, you aren't cursed by the cosmos. You are simply a person whose car got hit by debris on a Tuesday. It is an event, not an identity.
So she goes home, takes off her shoes, and stands barefoot on the grass in her yard. She closes her eyes and imagines all that red, all that difficult vibrating emotion just draining out through the soles of her feet and into the dirt.
It's a great grounding technique.
Yeah. She doesn't file the broken glass away as evidence for her prosecutor. She just lets the emotion pass through her body.
And she discovers this profound psychological truth, which is that an emotion on its own has an incredibly short half-life. It passes much faster than she ever expected.
Wow.
What used to last for days or weeks because she kept reviving it with her cursed narrative now dissolves in minutes. The emotion burns out quickly when it isn't given the fuel of a story.
So, looking at the entire arc of her journey, the author didn't manifest a flawless reality. She didn't magically ensure that her windshield would never get hit again. She simply stopped prosecuting the world. She dropped the heavy, exhausting load of the elephant by accepting that life doesn't owe us an explanation, and that just waking up is already a bonus. Everything else is just weather.
It is such a good reminder that we all possess the agency to stop building a case against ourselves. The raw feelings of anger, disappointment, overwhelm, they are entirely valid and undeniably human.
Absolutely.
But the narrative we fuse to them, that I am uniquely unlucky or why does this always happen to me, that part is entirely optional.
It's the difference between experiencing a storm and believing the storm was sent specifically to destroy you.
Perfectly said.
So as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with a completely different way to think about this going forward. We've talked extensively about how skilled our brains are at gathering evidence to prove we are cursed or unlucky. Our mental filters are incredibly efficient at finding the dog waste on the pavement.
Very efficient.
But what would happen if you deliberately tasked that exact same obsessive, pattern-seeking machinery with proving the opposite? There's a concept called paranoia. It's the creeping suspicion that the universe is actively conspiring to help you. If you stripped away the why me narrative today and instead assigned your brain to find just 3 pieces of evidence that things are working out in your favor, what kind of case would you build? What happens when the prosecutor decides to defend you?